I go to a kung fu thing in Portland every month. It's amazing. There's like a community nonprofit theater called the Hollywood Theater, and they do a lot of like email blasts, vote for whatever movie you want us to play this month or whatever, and they do big releases too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the second Tuesday of every month. The guy who owns it, he has the second biggest kung fu collection in the world outside Quentin Tarantino, and they know each other. They're friends. They trade movies, and like Quentin's even come to some of these before, and he he just like puts out an email blast like next Tuesday is going to be the only known 35 millimeter print of like the Seven Grandmasters or whatever. Just like every single time, it's the only known 35 millimeter print, and people just pile into this theater. It sells out every time, and you just like you get a beer, you get some popcorn, and you just like laugh at these kung fu movies that are so violent and so like someone hits you with a karate chop, and all of a sudden there's a slice in the shirt and blood coming out of it. Like as if it was a knife, and stuff like that. It's like the craziest
Exploding
things.
heads by his head punch explode.
It pretty much, yeah. And like, yeah, it just things where I mean, half of these movies end in like a huge epic fight where, like the underdog is trying to kill this evil master or whatever. And then the master leaves like some quick opening, and the underling kind of, has this chance to use everything he's learned in the whole movie to like land this one strike in the opening, and he does, and it goes like like echoes out, and then the guy goes whoa, and like flies back, and then it like freeze frames and says end. Like the guy doesn't even hit the ground. The movie's end like the second the final blow is struck. Like you don't even get to see the guy die. You just assume that's what happens, and like the movie ends almost immediately.
It's when they didn't realize how to end a movie. They're just like, well, there's nothing else to do from here.
Or,
he's dead now.
I mean, think about all the movies like, I'm not going to say anything about something like Lord of the Rings, but
dude, it's been so long since I've watched
some of those movies have like 7 endings as you're trying to like, all right, we're at 2.5 hours in. I thought it was over
Let's
3
wrap
times
it up
now. And like the music cues all tell you credits are about to come up. It fades to black, and then it fades up a new scene, and you're just like, what the hell is going on?
We
Like,
still have an hour left of movie.
I think the Chinese knew something. I think the Chinese knew what was going on, and they were like, you know what? People are here to see the action. They want to see the story. As soon as it's over, no more movie. Like, there's no point.
You know what I thought was interesting about those old movies? Watching like old Bruce Lee flicks, like a lot of those, the ones that he made in Hong Kong, which were most of them. The ending of those, spoiler alert, the ending of a lot of those where he would beat the final boss, he would kill him or something, and then he'd be arrested.
Really?
Yes. He would. I know at least in 2 movies that is the ending of the movie.
It's to show you that fighting is bad.
Yeah,
Shane.
there's just a nice little moral lesson at the end of it. Like revenge doesn't get you everything.
It
So
does. It just also gets you in jail.
Yeah. So you can kill him, but just let you know you are gonna go to jail.
Oh, that's why you just have to hurt them badly.
Or
Not-
there
not
was
kill
one.
them.
Do you remember the famous one where he like jumps towards like the cops? There's this one ending where he's beaten all the people. He's killed the final boss. It's the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The police all show up, and they're like there's like 17, 20 policemen
With guns.
just in a hall and just down a street corner, whatever. And then they're all pointing their guns at him, and Bruce Lee is like, I must do this. And he turns towards the police and jumps towards the police, and then it freeze frames.
Like flying kick or something?
Yeah, flying kick, freeze frame, and then everyone goes, and the cops, all you hear is like just guns firing. And then that's the end of the movie.
Man.
Like, what a terrible ending.
But it's kung fu, so he somehow dodged all the bullets. Like one at a time, took them all
I
out.
forget what movie, but watching that as a kid, I was like, what, he dies?
Oh yeah, it's a little tough for a kid. I don't think they're meant for young people. How old were you when you
Oh,
watched
man, I was young. My dad would always let me watch all this. That's how I got into Jean-Claude Van Damme. I started watching Bruce Lee, and then he showed me Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, was Bloodsport. No, Kickboxer. Kickboxer was my first
Kickboxer.
Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Nice.
And just, man, I fell in love with all sorts of training sequences after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because those are kind of like, it's like Rocky on steroids
Yeah.
in a way, with like a way bigger, like life is what's at stake, not like your boxing reputation or whatever.
Yeah. Fuck your boxing reputation. This is to the death, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's what I always appreciate about that kung fu stuff. They like invented their own thing. That's almost like there's like cinema and then there's kung fu movies, and they're almost not even part of the same thing.
Yeah, I always wonder like why don't like huge blockbuster action movies ever get like Oscar nominations? Or
Well, it's actually, I mean, there's a lot of people that have different opinions of that, but I mean things like, well, I guess not action, but big budget things like Avatar, you know.
yeah, I guess so.
Avatar got nominated for a lot of stuff, but that was kind of for its kind of technical wow. It really entranced people at the time. But for the most part, what makes a big budget movie, they call them tentpole movies in the industry. And that refers to, like, think of a circus tent and the big center mass that like holds everything up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tentpole. And those movies make so much money that they float the studio to be able to make more genre specific movies. So everybody's making these giant like comic book movies and all this stuff. And most of the time they're not like phone-ins. The people who work on them work really hard,
Right.
but they aren't written to make you think. They're written to make you escape. And
Okay.
they're designed to appeal to the common denominator. They need to make a lot of money, which means everybody needs to like them, or 80% of everybody needs to like them.
Yeah, but really, does La La Land need to be fucking the best movie in the world?
So that's a whole other thing, though, because I saw La La Land after the Oscar season, and I didn't think it was very good at all.
But that's what I'm
It was
talking about. Like all of those kind of movies, where
But
I
at
call
the
them
same time-
sleepers.
At the same time, though, Moonlight was great, and at the same time, like the best movie that I saw last year was a Ghibli movie called The Red Turtle, and it was nominated for Best Animated Picture along with like Zootopia, which was good, but it's the big action, big budget
Yeah, okay.
version of
Yeah.
a cartoon. There's Kubo and the Two Strings. Kubo, I don't know if you saw trailers for that. It's awesome. Like the animation effort is, I think it's a Leica movie, being animation like digital and clay kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Very stop motion-y stuff, but like looks amazing. Um, they had Kubo, which was like a really great kind of American Western attempt at an animated story that hits and feels like a regular story that's not just for kids. But even then, they put enough in there to make it kind of family and for everybody. And that's the thing. If you're trying to make money, you're watering down your product and you're making something that's just fun and something that people can watch and escape. And the movies that get the awards are the ones that take risks and the ones that are actually saying something, which usually turns into some kind of like a hot button topic. Anything that you're hearing in the news, things that have to do with like any kind of equal rights situation,
Right.
any kind of very strong like human perseverance story, like stories based on true stories of people who made it through crazy experiences, stuff like that. Because
I guess that makes sense now.
yeah,
That when you explain it like that, I was like, okay, so it is for exactly that. It's for the more things that actually will change the industry in some way, shape, or form. It's like making the industry go forward. And
it's not even that. It's the ones that treat the industry as an art form.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, like you can say all you want about the Oscars. Like I view them the same way as I view the Grammys. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of crazy stuff. There are a crap load of amazing movies out there that you will never hear about if you just watch the stuff that gets advertised to you. Like The Red Turtle. I didn't see anything for that, and I watched that. My old screenwriting professor actually texted me because I've been trying to get him to watch Studio Ghibli movies forever. I've seen all 23 of them, and
Sad that they shut down.
they didn't shut down.
I thought they shut
No,
down.
they didn't. Shane.
I thought they shut down. Did they not?
No, they didn't shut
Did
down.
they change studios or something?
Nope.
Something happened
They
with studio. Tell me
no.
what happened then.
they Well, really quick, even so, just even my I was trying to get him to watch these movies forever, and I was telling him about the staples, Princess Mononoke,
Yeah.
Spirited Away,
Mm-hmm.
like the T-shirt that I have on
Mm-hmm.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
and even things like Totoro or whatever that are kind of more for a younger audience, but like the way I thought I would sell him is Grave of the Fireflies, if you've ever heard of that. It was a post World War II or during World War II um, drama about two siblings that are estranged from their parents when the nuclear bomb gets dropped,
Oh shit.
and the entire movie is basically the two of them clinging to each other for survival and slowly starving to death.
Oh,
And
that sounds very. That sounds.
Roger, so yeah,
That
this
sounds very
this
uplifting
keep
movie.
in mind this is a hand-drawn animated basically anime movie, and Roger Ebert back when it came out called it the most effective anti-war movie ever made.
Wow.
And it kind of proved that these kinds of movies have power in them. It's not like you don't have to make an animated movie like a Pixar movie, which I
Mm-hmm.
mean Pixar movies are great. I love them. But you can say really deep things and go really far with the medium. Um, but anyway, so he finally like watches the Red Turtle. I hadn't even seen it yet. He saw it before me, and he was like, "Hey, this is a text," and he was like, "I just saw the Red Turtle. It was my favorite movie of last year.
Oh wow.
Now I have to go back and watch all these Ghiblis that you've been telling me to watch." And I'm like, "Thank you." So I go watch in the theater. Movie just messed me up like completely. I saw it twice in the theater actually. It's
Wow.
so good. The Red Turtle. There's not a word of dialogue in the whole thing.
Really?
Well, a guy says "hey" like 3 times, like yelling it out, looking for people. He's stuck on an island. He's
That's
lost.
crazy. What a great little idea.
And
That's
it's
really impressive that it was able to convey so
yeah,
much emotion with no
it's
words.
unbelievable. It's really good. But so Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki
Yeah,
is
tell because I remember reading something on like Kotaku or some blog was like Studio
yeah.
Ghibli is going down and it's sad day for everybody or something like that. I
No,
was like, holy shit, really?
yeah. So Hayao Miyazaki, I can't. He's one of like he's the father of it all,
Mm-hmm.
right? He kind of is the face of Ghibli.
Right.
He even draws and everything. Like he does like everything in these movies, when he started out, and he's getting old, and
As you do.
as you do, except for me, I don't know what you guys are. Like, aging is for suckers. Um, but anyway, like so he's announced his retirement like I don't know 3 or 4 times or something. He'll just be like, "This is my last movie in the foreseeable future. I don't know if I'm gonna make another one." And then 2 years later, like he makes another one. And so they announced that I don't know if it was for financial reasons, but they announced that Ghibli was going to stop basically in-house producing content, movies and stuff.
So
They
they're
were
gonna
focusing
outsource?
on they're focusing on short films and stuff. But yeah, so the Red Turtle is a movie that was directed by a Dutch English guy named Michael, I think Dudok de Wit or something. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But
It's
the
very that's very
entire
Dutch.
yeah, and his entire staff was European people. You just see like a crap load of French names
So
in
are
the
they
credits.
so they're just
Um,
they're strictly producing then?
yeah. So what
Okay.
they basically did was they kind of I think they might have co-written it with him. But for the most part, it was like this guy and his studio making a movie with the stamp of approval and the financial support and distribution support
Of
from
studio.
from Ghibli.
Ghib-
So it's like the movie starts and it has the blue screen with Totoro on it and it says Studio Ghibli, and it's like it's an official Ghibli film, but it's also the first Ghibli film that wasn't
Animated by
drawn by people. When you watch the credits at the end, there are like 6 Japanese names and they're all under producers, and everybody else is like Spanish and French
So does it have
and
the
English.
same? Does it have the same sort of? Do they go? Do they try to go for the usual Ghibli feel and look, Like, because when you
So-
watch a Ghibli film, you know you can tell it's a Ghibli film and drawn by
Yeah.
what's his name? I'm terrible with Japanese names, so I apologize.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah,
Um,
Miyazaki.
Yeah, but even then, there are other artists. There are a lot of artists in that world, and also, I mean, I know you're not. I was surprised to find this out, but I know you're not like the biggest anime watcher. But there are a lot of
So
people.
many. I'm like
There
I'm
are
too
so
I'm too
many.
much into video games in my free time. Like
No, I get it.
yeah, it's just like video games take up most of my time. And
Yeah, the last one that I watched was 148 episodes, something like that, which is a lot. I mean, they're 20 minutes long a piece, but that's still about 50 hours of content, and which is like playing a game.
yeah.
You know, watching Hunter x Hunter, whereas you said Hunter by Hunter.
Hunter by Hunter. I just thought that was.
But Hunter x Hunter was a 50-hour commitment, and
You know what else too?
worth
What drives me crazy about anime sometimes because there was a time when I was, I don't know, in my early 20s when I was really into anime and I watched Evangelion and Berserk.
I just watched Evangelion for the first time.
Oh, did you?
A few months ago.
It's fucking crazy, right? That last season is kind of like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah. It's,
Like, why is this becoming such a philosophical conversation?
yeah, I went from like not really into it to kind of. My friend George Woods, he's the one who was like, "You have to watch this," because we traveled.
It's a
Europe
classic.
in
It's a
January
yeah.
together, and we just like got into all these anime arguments, and just to push his buttons, I would like because he knows all of them. Like he knows so much more about anime than I do, so much more. But I just can't help but like when I mention something that I like, and then he mentions something from like 15 years before that probably did it better, and I'm just like, fuck this guy. Like, I need to. I'm gonna. So I just start like pushing his buttons on saying like, it's no, it's no whatever, like some new thing.
It's no
But we-
Attack on Titan.
We
you know?
traded. I got him to watch Hunter x Hunter, which he's always avoided because of how many episodes there are, and he got me to watch Evangelion. But I started like, and I really tried. I just didn't. It's so out there, and
It's so out there.
and I started like kind of not into it, and then I started really getting into it. And then like the last 4 episodes, I was just like, I have no idea. Like everything I thought I knew, I don't anymore. In fact, who am I? Where did I come from? And like, is this real life? And then the last episode ended, and I just kind of like wandered out of my house, like
See,
not
but
knowing what
that
to do.
that like pissed me off. Like I was so into Evangelion, and the last 4 episodes just threw me for such a loop. It was just so much different than the rest of the story was going.
Yeah. It's
'Cause I
all
was
black
thinking it's like-
background and like
There's gonna be a huge ending here, and someone's gonna come out the winner, and I'm not gonna be, I'm not. But instead, I was
No.
like questioning my very being.
yeah,
And then there was that one scene in the hospital. And you know what scene I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
You know what fucking scene I'm talking about, where it's just out of fucking nowhere. You're like, what the fuck
Oh.
just happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Should I do a spoiler alert? Spoiler alert. This is what happens. So one of the girl, Ray, I think is her name Ray?
Ray, I know,
yeah,
yeah.
Ray gets injured, whatever, and she's in the hospital bed, and it's because of, what's his name? Shinji.
Shinji. Yeah.
Shinji. It's because of Shinji's been fucking like having this emotional crisis, and that's what gets her really hurt and almost killed. And so he feels bad, and so he visited her in the fucking hospital, and he's sitting next to her, and for some odd reason, her blouse comes open, exposing her breasts, and for some reason, he decides to jerk off. And then after that, he goes, "Man, I'm so fucked up," and then the scene ends. Do you remember that part?
The funny thing is that I don't remember that happening.
Dude, I remember that.
I remember
that. That's
remember-
the only thing I remember for the whole fucking
I remember
whole fucking show.
I remember everything, man. I wish I had George on speakerphone so I could just figure out if that actually happened.
We should just FaceTime him real quick.
Be
Be like,
like-
hey, you're on the podcast. So do you remember this fucking scene? Can you tell me why they decided that this was a good idea?
They do weird things, man. That's the thing. Okay, so going really quickly, I tangent so much, and I think you do too. We have that in common. But I'm trying to get better at like resolving my tangents, so we can go back to the Studio Ghibli
Oh,
conversation
okay,
about
yeah.
you asking me about the animation
Oh yeah,
of Red
yeah.
Turtle. So it's hand animated. It feels kind of
Mm-hmm.
Ghibli-y, um, but it's definitely different. But in the same way that Tale of Princess Kaguya, which I know you've never seen,
Mm-hmm.
um, is basically, have you ever seen those greeting cards that are still like very Japanese, but everything, that style of art that's all watercolor soft brush strokes,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the backgrounds just kind of blend off to white,
Yeah.
like there are no hard edges in borders.
Mm-hmm.
The entire movie of Kaguya is that,
Oh wow, that's
where
cool.
everything looks like a hand painted watercolor. And in some of the crazy scenes, like really emotional scenes where the girl's like running off and like her headspace is nuts, it's just scribbles. It's just streaks of color that kind of, when they're animated, resemble a girl running through fields. But it's just
Wow.
splashes of red going on. It's like really unique. And so a lot of the Ghiblis have varied in art style. But Red Turtle's kind of like middle of the road. It's very, it's not American. It's very European. If you've ever seen any like French animation or anything like that, it makes sense. It's kind of like a blend.
Can't say I have.
But
I'm not much of a movie buff
yeah,
as yourself.
I'm actually not that much of a movie buff
Well,
either.
you're in this industry. You're not. You've watched a lot more films than I have.
Probably.
Maybe not. Maybe saying movie buff is.
I've probably
Uh,
watched more like quote unquote good movies than you have, but you've probably watched more than I have when it comes to like Jean-Claude Van Damme and
that is true. I've watched
um
every single Jean-Claude Van Damme movie there is.
or just like any kind of movie like like that.
Even the bad ones like Replicant.
I just
Terrible movie.
have you
Just
watched
awful.
stuff like Blade Runner or anything
You know
like
what's
that?
funny?
Harrison
Like
Ford and...
I have never watched Blade Runner, and that to my discredit.
Mhm.
Like I hate myself for not watching Blade Runner because I love that style of like sci-fi, like
Yeah.
dystopian future kind of stuff, which I'm super excited that the makers of The Witcher 3 are doing something similar to that and that kind of dystopian future kind of, so I'm really excited to see what they come up with that.
Will you
Did
do
you
me a
know
favor?
that I'm sorry, did you know that the Swedish government, is it Swedish? They're Swedish, either Swedish or Dutch.
They're always up to something.
I forget what where the studio resides, but whatever area's government actually gave them a grant to make their next game.
Whoa.
That's how
yeah.
good The Witcher 3 is.
Dang. Or
government
that's just how
said-
good some of those northern European countries are.
Yeah. Yes, they're
But
much
it's
better
cool.
than us, and they support art.
I mean,
we do not.
yay for video games being considered art.
Fuck yeah.
Like I even had a hard time with it because a lot of the stories are just kind of like, I guess, for a long time kind of generic based on stories that have already been told.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, 8.
I love 8. That's
Um,
my favorite.
They stole the entire space sequence basically from 2001 Space Odyssey.
Mhm.
Like the music, the shots, like the camera angles and
Yeah.
everything. And when it's 1998 and I'm 14 years old, I don't know that kind of thing. And then fast forward 10 years and I'm like, "Oh my god. I'm watching 2001 with other like film people and I'm like, "Guys, this is just like Final Fantasy 8." And they look at me like,
How dare you? Get the fuck out of here.
yeah, pretty much. That's like, but that's the relationship that I have with a lot of the people that I, am like the people in my circles. I'm friends with, like, because of Rise of the Summerfest. I just know basically like tons of athletic people and tons of music or tons of movie people, and like a lot of them just don't get the whole video game anime thing.
Really? You like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
And they
I'd be
should
really because I always wondered like what would happen if a movie writer who does strictly movies all of a sudden said, "I want to do a video game."
happened.
Where? Who did?
It's called Nino Kuni.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually never played Ni no Kuni. You've been telling me to play that game forever.
So Nino Kuni is like a story and character design, story written character design by Studio Ghibli. They decided, let's make a game. And
Yeah.
we'll hire
And it's coming-
this company to make the game and like actually like make it work, but like we'll come up with a story and we'll invent the characters and we'll make a Ghibli world that's a video
And
game.
apparently it worked out really well. I've never played
It's
it, but
freaking awesome.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
considered one of the best role playing games that's
Hmm.
ever existed.
It was really good, but it's in the same way that we have all these real voice talents doing stuff. Like I have a old buddy from back in the day in LA who's the lead voice on Final Fantasy 15.
Yes, I have a signed
Um,
copy because of you. Thank you for that.
you're welcome. You're very welcome.